Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and I'm appearing before you because I'm a registered independent. And that could be a bit controversial because it means that at any given Sunday, you could be voting for a Republican as a Black African American, which also stirs more controversy. My take on being a registered independent is I don't think it's right to discriminate against someone who is aligned with their party, um, and look at them solely as being aligned with their party as them being unfit, or that being the basis of them being unfit as a leader, um, or as a politician. You can be a bad Democrat. You can be a bad Republican. You can be a good Democrat and you can be a good Republican. And I think what I would personally define as good or bad is a good politician is somebody who advocates for change, whether it's domestic change or whether it's foreign change. A good politician is someone who is not afraid to be transparent, not to the point where we know all the happenings that is going on in their home, but someone who's not afraid to be transparent to the point where they can openly talk about policies, what they've voted on, what they've voted against, and also what their belief system based on how they have ran offices and treated people over the years before they even came into any kind of political arena. If you were a landowner, if you were someone who was a landlord before you got into the political arena, and you're notorious for discriminating against minorities, namely, i.e., Black Americans, and doing things that were literally illegal to push people out of certain neighborhoods and exclude them out of staying in certain neighborhoods because you had racist values. You're not only not a good politician, but you're not a good person. And this goes back to the Alabama riverboat spiel that I had earlier with the two uploads. There's a real need for change when it comes to identity politics with the American people. A lot of Americans identify their pride and pride themselves on their race rather than their nationalism. And in order to bring pride back into America, or to bring back having Americans being proud, we need a politician that's actually a working politician that has made change in legislation, change in how they have governed their own communities, change in how they approach the differences between whites, blacks, and other minorities within the United States. That's an important thing. Um, I've been looking and eyeing candidates on the Democratic side. I'm gonna be honest with you. The strongest candidate I see on the Democratic side is Joe Biden. I don't see any other contenders. Hillary Clinton hasn't come out to announce any formal running for office, so I can't say anything about that. Obviously, if she did, she would be another strong contender. But Joe Biden is the only one that I've seen on the Democratic side that I've had any kind of faith in when it comes to running for the next presidential election. Obviously, I do need to see, panel discussions and things like that, but I just haven't seen any other strong Democratic contenders. I do see that Mr. Kennedy has put in his bid for for the presidential run. With that being said, I don't know if there's enough policy legislation change. I don't know if there is enough that he has done in his personal record, that would make me look at him as a presidential hopeful. On the Republican side, There's been a lot of talks about, what's been going on with Donald Trump, and, he's been cleared of his indictments. With that being said, I didn't vote for Donald Trump in the last elections. There was a lot of fear mongering that Donald Trump used to be able to talk about why he should rise to presidency. The fear mongering that he used in early on in his election uh, was simply about building the wall to keep those who were native to the country of Mexico out of America. And with that, it was a project that became completely unfinished. It cost a lot of money to taxpayers. There's been more controversy around statements and rhetoric that Donald Trump has been spewing rather than actual change that he's been implementing in the country. The only thing that he's implemented is division in the country. Um, so with that being said, I look at Governor Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, and I see him as the most logical candidate on the Republican side. Here's why I look at him in a favorable light. He's a working politician that has actually lobbied against one, um, the domestic war on drugs that has been going on in this country, illicit drugs that have been going on in this country. Two, he was a governor of New Jersey, which is a primarily Democratic state, and him being a Republican and being able to be voted in as as the governor in a primarily Democratic state, it actually shows that people have had faith in him, and he was able to cross bipartisan lines. He was able to gather votes from both sides and support from both sides because he had a tactics, he had a plan, and he was able to execute in the correct way how to govern the state of New Jersey. During his seat as the governor of New Jersey, New Jersey went through a natural disaster that called out for the National Guard and service members to be able to help them in a time of crisis. And I thought that the governor executed um, flawlessly on how he was able to take care of the people of New Jersey when it came to their natural disaster due to inclement weather and weather conditions. Um, with that being said, obviously there was also some backlash because I believe at one point in his seat, there was something where he had gone on like vacation with his family while there was certain things going on in the state, but it wasn't anything that was a state of emergency like how he had previously taken care of before. So, with that being said, it's like that's kind of asinine to even bring that up or to talk about that because it's like the man still was doing his job. But here's another thing: a lot of people don't do foreign policy until it's time for them to actually take the seat of presidency or until they're actually in the spotlight to talk about foreign policy. But they don't deal or tackle foreign policy at all. Governor Christie just came back from the Ukraine. He had a meeting with Zelensky to see the aftermath of what happened. There were some surprising things that I did not know. I didn't know that Russian troops were going into the Ukraine, killing innocent Ukrainian men, and then raping Ukrainian women and stealing their daughters. Um, Anytime there is war and violence that is incited on a group of people, a lot of the time women and children are plumaged through. They're taken, and that is an atrocity that a lot of people don't really shine a light on. But it's happened historically throughout history, throughout world history. Governor Christie making the move to go and speak to Zelensky shows a type of leadership that the GOP needs to be getting behind and backing, because this is a man who's not only very familiar and tactical when it comes to domestic issues and domestic policies that affect everyday lives of Americans, but he's making the actual effort before there's any kind of run for presidency, before there's any kind of panel discussion during his presidency or any questions that he may be proposed with. He's already preparing himself by flying overseas, having conversations with Zelensky, and identifying what were the key issues and what is it that the Ukrainian people are going to need in a form of support from the American government to make sure that these atrocities and the bullying from Vladimir Putin does not continue. We cannot sit back and allow a group of people to suffer and go down just because there's a superpower that says we want to take over these people and we want to oppress them and make them some sort of, it sounds like some sort of slavery that they're trying to do with the Ukrainian people. They're honestly just trying to take their independence, and the Russian government is trying to take their government. They're literally trying to swallow the Ukrainian country up. That's what they're trying to do. And so with Governor Christie going out there, that's not only admirable, but that's taking action in the right direction to be able to say, what is it that you need, and understand that you have someone in America who has not forgotten about you, and we stand in solidarity with you. And that's something that the GOP needs to look at and get behind, because the Republican Party is a circus. It's a circus animal race. It's nothing but a bunch of trick and pony shows. And I have respect for both Democrats and Republicans. The reason why I'm an independent is because the area that I live in California, farmers in my area are Republican, and I'm not going to go against the farmers. Bottom line. But I also have respect for Governor Gavin Newsom and the things that he has done and implemented for the state. There are things that he can be criticized on and can be held accountable for. There are things that people do not associate or like about his policies. But when it comes down to it, Governor Gavin Newsom did advocate for Californians when it came to us having our economic shutdown due to the COVID crisis. Gavin Newsom came through and he advocated for Californians, to make sure that the people of California were compensated and taken care of in that way. So when it comes down to it, I don't just look at people just because, oh, that's a Democrat, that's a bad guy, that's a shiesty person, oh, that's a Republican, that's a redneck, and that's a racist. It's unfair to say that about either party. But what I will say is this: if the Republican Party wants to gather any of their laurels or any of their dignity together, they should go with a candidate that is level-headed, a candidate that is not only able to unite people on a bipartisan front, but let me be completely honest. This is a white man who was the governor of New Jersey, and New Jersey has a fairly large African American and also Caribbean and Haitian communities that live in New Jersey. And when you look at his track record, he did not have a lot of brutality, a lot of violence, and a lot of racist uproars that were happening in his state during that time. There was not a whole lot of oppression that was going on in his state in that time. He was a very fair man um, when it came to coming after criminals. He came after not only those who were racketeering that were of, minorities, but he came after other white people who were involved in any kind of racketeering or any kind of crimes that were going against the greater good of this country. So you got to look at it from the perspective, how has this person's track record been when it comes to people outside of his ethnicity or people outside of his personal group? Like, is he able to cross lines and have that kind of sincerity and have that kind of concern for not just white citizens but all citizens of America? And that's something that every politician, not just Democratic politicians, every politician should think like that, move like that. You don't want to just be fair to just one group of people. You want to be fair to every group of people. And I don't understand well, I do understand. It's Americans don't have a sense of pride in their country. So they need to have a sense of pride in, because their country, you know, has been rocked and has been going through issues as of lately, and on a global scale has not been taken as seriously as we have in the past. There is a loss of sense of pride in the nationalism, and now the sense of pride is being turned onto the ethnicity. Very similar to how Germany felt about itself after World War One. Germany was looked at as last in place on the world scale, on a global world scale. And so you had dictators who rose out of Germany who wanted to play the blame game on Germany not being a national superpower because it was being overran by minorities that were in the area. But instead of fixing the issue or the infrastructure and making Germany, the country of innovation that we know that it is of today, the dictators of that time trick the people into believing that in order for you to have pride in your country, you have to have pride in your ethnicity, and you have to go on the attack against any minorities that are taking away opportunities from Germans. And that's similar to what Donald Trump has been inciting and what the GOP has been getting behind. But there is a glimmer of hope within your own camp. And I believe that's Governor Chris Christie.
I just might code, 'cause you let this go. And how did you know, no? How did you know your love was the remedy? 'Cause I just might code. You let all this go. And I have nothing to show but these scars I saw us grow. But you let us go. And now I might code. How could you know, no? How did you know your love was the remedy to my soul? But you let us go. And I just might code. I saw us grow old. You let me code.